What is up, you sinners and saints? Welcome back to The Raging Atheist. I'm your boy Nakasuchi. Today we're gonna talk about a comment I got, and I'm gonna tell you guys how I lost faith in God. I've been getting a lot of comments, a lot of great comments from you guys that are loving the videos, and a lot of comments from Christians trying to rebut me or put me down or make me feel bad for the content I'm putting out. But one of the comments from a Christian that I received is she really wanted to know how I lost faith in God. Now, I thought about this for a week, and I've taken a lot of notes on it. I've thought about my life. I thought about what I was doing, and I thought about whether or not I wanted to make this video, because it's going to get really personal. I'm going to reveal stuff, which I've been planning on revealing. I don't hide nothing about my past. And my past made me who I am. And I really had to think about that. How did I become the Raging Atheist? And I think, honestly, even though I was raised to believe in the Christian God, I always had doubts from a very early age. I'm going to admit that freely. And the first doubts that I can remember involved the dinosaurs. When I first learned about the dinosaurs, I remember asking somebody, not sure if it was one of my parents, but I asked somebody, what about the dinosaurs? I thought God created us, and what happened to the dinosaurs? And they gave me some bullshit answer. And it was really easy for me to reconcile myself with the answer they gave me, because I was a child that was growing up on the Flintstones, and you see it every morning. On one of your favorite cartoons, humans and dinosaurs living and coexisting together, right? And that's kind of what I grew up in, and that's how I was able to continue to believe in God, even though I had questioned at a very young age. Now, of course, when I grew older and I actually learned the truth, I was fairly still indoctrinated, and I was able to rationalize it away.
It's true.
But the truth of the matter is this: the Christian story and the Judeo story have been completely destroyed by the dinosaurs alone. Now, the story of Adam and Eve is God comes down and creates Adam and Eve, human beings, and they're the first creatures on this earth, or one of the first creatures on this earth. That he created a lot of shit, but only in 7 days. So what about the dinosaurs? Because we know that the dinosaurs lived long before human beings were here. The dinosaurs were the first things that was really a faith crisis for me. And it was a thing that kept coming back, because you just cannot reconcile the fact that they existed long before human beings. Another thing that kind of weakened my faith all along from a very young age is I love reading. And I started to love reading at a very young age. Now, I started writing stories when I was like 5 years old, but I didn't start reading really until the 8th grade. And in the 8th grade, my teacher made us read a book called Lloyd Alexander's The Black Cauldron. And I loved this book. And to this day, I still have a love of fantasy fiction that surpasses my love of every other writing. But I fell in love with that book, and then I went to the library and I wanted to find a book like that, and I came away with Stephen King's The Eyes of the Dragon, the only true fantasy fiction Stephen King ever wrote to this date. I don't count The Dark Tower as true fantasy fiction, although it is probably the greatest fantasy fiction ever written, in my opinion.
I don't trust this kid any further than I can throw him.
Well, with your bad knee, Ed, you shouldn't throw anybody.
But it's something beyond that. It's something different. It's brilliant. But, I loved reading, and I started reading mainly Stephen King at first, and then that branched off to, Clive Barker and other fictional writers. But it was later in life that I started reading alternative histories. And the point I want to make about even just reading fiction is I think that the problem we have in our country today is a lack of empathy. And I think you can link that, honestly, to people not reading novels anymore, not reading stories anymore. You know, when you read a good book, you are getting into the mind of someone else completely, of several people, usually. And I think it helps you to develop empathy towards other human beings. If you've lived in the life of a Muslim, you're going to have a different understanding of a Muslim than, say, a Christian that's never tried to understand Muslims at all. So I think that reading helped me to develop empathy. It helped me to use my brain to really think about stuff, and it introduced me to a lot of stuff. And later in life, I read histories, alternative histories, and I came to realize as I studied history that we don't have a single writing by Jesus Christ. Not a single one. Now, if this guy is God incarnated in the flesh, I think he's smart enough to read and write.
What is so dangerous about a character like Ferris Bueller is he gives good kids bad ideas.
So why don't we have a single piece of writing from the man himself? And really, we don't have any writings of the man himself that weren't forged at the time. The first real writings of Jesus Christ came several generations after he supposedly lived. History does not show Jesus Christ to have lived at all. Only the church's history does. And I find the church's history highly suspect because, well, they're fucked. But the true demise of my religious life, the true demise of my Christian faith in God, came when I was 17 years old. When I was 17 years old, I went to jail. And I was doing bad shit, and I believed in God. You know, we didn't really go to church a lot, but we believed in God, and we believed that you needed to do good. And you know, I spent the last 3 years praying to God to take away my drug addictions, to make me the son my father wanted me to be, to make me the sports star my father wanted me to be, and my family wanted me to be, and to be the academic that they wanted me to be.
Well, makes you look like an ass is what he does, Ed.
Instead of the fuck up drug addict that I was when I was 17 years old. And God never answered. And I kept doing bad shit, and it progressed. It progressed. And my drug addict, you know, we were around a lot of rich people in the South. And what does the South have? What do Christians have? They have guns. And I needed drugs. And I had people that wanted guns and were going to give me a ton of drugs. And all I had to do was get those guns. Now, I was a believer at the time. Supposedly, believers are the ones with morality, but I found it highly easy to defeat that morality with the knowledge that Christ would forgive me for anything if I just prayed for his forgiveness. And my drug addiction led me to several rehabs. My father tried so hard. And I kept praying. And I kept praying. And God never fucking answered. So we were breaking into houses, and we were taking their guns and their shit and their jewelry, everything we could get. And I went to prison.
Fuck.
And I was still a believer. And, you know, people in prison start believing in God because they need something. You know, and even most of them already believe in God, but they really start believing in God in prison. And I awoke one day and I just realized, you know, this is all bullshit. It's all bullshit.
Well, makes you look like an ass is what he does, Ed.
That I'm surrounded by the worst fucking human beings. Murderers and rapists and child rapists and you name it. I was surrounded. Gangbangers everywhere. In fact, I became a gangbanger in prison. You had to. And I realized, all these people believe in God? Fucking seriously? And I just woke up to it. That it's just a mental programming, a social programming to keep you in line, to stop you from thinking, to stop you from fucking being the person you could potentially be. And it holds you down, and it makes you doubt, and it makes you regret decisions. If I honestly think that if I wasn't praying for God to solve my problems, that if I knew that I should be solving my problems myself, that I wouldn't have been breaking into those fucking houses. And if I knew that I wasn't, all I had to do was just pray for forgiveness, I wouldn't have been breaking into those houses. Because now I actually have morality. I know that what I do in life is all there is. And by the end of my time in prison, I was no longer a Christian. I was not an atheist yet, but I was no longer a Christian. I was on a path of seeking knowledge. I wanted to know the fucking truth. I wanted to know the truth to the lies that I've been told. And I wasn't angry at the liars at that point. You're not really lying if you've been programmed to believe the bullshit too. It's not really a lie. You are a victim of it yourself, so it's hard to be mad at the liars. But I wanted to know the truth. I wanted to know true history. And so I started reading alternative histories. And I really started finding my Native American tradition, my Native American ancestry. I am white and Native American. And I became a Native American spiritualist seeking the truth. But it wasn't the Native American religion that led me away from the Christian church. It was the story of Adam and Eve that just really made me know that the Christian God was just made up.
Now, on this sixth day, God did something else that was very important. God created the first man. And that man was called Adam. Then God blew the breath of life right into Adam. God decided it was time to make another person. So God created woman.
What?
Hello.
Hello. I mean, hi. Shucks.
Where am I?
You're in God's garden.
And it's the story of Adam and Eve. And just using rational thought, you cannot believe this story. Knowing that human beings came here long after the earth was actually formed. The earth has been here for something like 400 or 500 billion years. And I think humanity has been here for something like 500 million years. There's a big, difference. Christians like to say that the earth is only 6,000 years old, that Adam and Eve lived 6,000 years ago. And science, and once you learn the true history of this planet, what we know so far, you know that that's just complete and utter bullshit. But then take the story itself, Adam and Eve, right? And if you take the Judeo story, it was Adam and Lilith first. Well, what happened to Lilith? Lilith was a slut, yo. And she became some succubus, a demon. Now, if you believe this, if you believe that a woman can become a succubus and murder and kill children, whatever the story was about Lilith, you're a fucking idiot.
Well, makes you look like an ass is what he does, Ed.
But then, God comes in and is like, all right, I fucked up with Lilith, so we're going to take a rib out of you, Adam, and we're going to make you a perfect wife, a perfect mate. And you think that humanity came from Adam and Eve bearing 3 sons. They had no daughters. They had 3 sons. And humanity came from that, right? You're a fucking idiot. If you believe that a talking snake told Eve to eat an apple, which brought in all this bad shit, this mortality that we have now, you are a fucking idiot. You know, we have an evolutionary record, and there are missing links, there are gaps in that evolutionary record, but we know that evolution exists. Now look at this. You see this little bone right here, right? I am not part of the new evolution because I have this little bone right here in my arm. It's a useless bone, you know, but humans are evolving right now as we speak, and this useless bone is disappearing from humanity. Evolution is real. Now, I don't know if evolution is the only way Homo sapiens, cognitive human beings, came to be on this planet, but I know it's one of the reasons. It's definitely one of the reasons. And one of the reasons it's not is that 6,000 years ago, God came down from wherever the fuck he was at, creating the universe, to create Earth and Adam and Eve. That shit was a game changer for me. And once you realize that nothing's gonna happen to you when you don't have faith, you see, I was always taught that if you say goddamn, lightning's gonna strike you. Well, guess what? I just said fucking goddamn, and I'll go worse than that. God is a cunt. No lightning. You know, once you realize that you don't change as a human being without that faith in God, that once you realize that I was able to actually become a better human being without that faith in God, you don't fucking need it. So I came out of prison trying to break my childhood programming and trying to break the programming that I had received in prison, trying to break the violence, the anger that I had from my time in prison. And it was an evolution. I was a pretty shit-headed person in my early 20s. I was a dick. I was a bad person.
Thank you, Grace. I think you're wrong.
Oh, well, he's very popular, Ed. The sportos, the motorheads, geeks, sluts, bloods, wastoids, dweebies, dickheads. They all adore him. They think he's a righteous dude.
But I slowly became better. And it was an evolution away from religion that made me better. Because I came out a Native American spiritualist, and I realized that, you know, some Native American tribes actually believe that the gods were aliens. And I think that if there were gods at all that actually created or brought humans to this planet, they were fucking aliens. Now, if you want to talk about a universal mind, I call it nature, and yeah, it's very possible that there is something behind the scenes of the universe. It's very possible that there's not. Nobody fucking knows. Human beings will never know that. But that mind would never give a fuck about us. And if the gods were aliens, they're long dead. Long dead. Now, that species might be coming back. But, you know, only the future will tell that shit. And I spoke about it before in previous videos, and maybe you new subscribers haven't watched those older videos, but you know, my path along atheism, when I actually just gave up the concept of God altogether, when I stopped being a Buddhist, when I stopped being a Taoist, although I still like those philosophies and I still utilize those philosophies in my life, when I became an atheist, I was a quiet atheist. And it was because when I was first reading those histories and I was learning all this new information about how, you know, if you actually read the history of Israel at the time, 2,000 years ago, when this so-called Jesus Christ lived and fucking did magic, you realize that a lot of people were walking around Israel claiming to be the prophesied savior of the children of Israel. You know, that prophecy was never supposed to be a child of God. It was supposed to just be some leader rising out of the bloodline of David to lead the people of Israel once again to freedom away from Roman rule. That's what the prophecy was all about. It was never about child of God. Christians warped that shit, and Jesus Christ never really fucking lived. There was a bunch of fucking messiahs walking around at the goddamn time, preaching, trying to say that they were the one that was gonna rule, they were the one with the bloodline of David. And if you actually read the fucking Bible, you come to realize that fucking Jesus Christ, the man that they talk about in the fucking Bible, never had the goddamn bloodline of David. No, because his mom never fucked Joseph, right? Not until after they were married. Well, Jesus they had before they were married. Jesus came from God, not Joseph. And Joseph's bloodline is the bloodline that was linked to King David, who was a douchebag. You know, if you actually read the Bible and you realize that all of God's favorite people back then were complete and utter douchebags, it's hard to really believe that God is a loving God. God is a war God. Your version of God is a war God. He's fucking Odin. He's fucking, what's the Roman one? Fucking Apollo. And I guarantee you, the Christians watching me and criticizing me, the Christian that asked me this intriguing question, I challenge you guys to think outside of the box of your religion. Just think about it. Do you really think it's possible that a snake talked? Do you think it's possible that a man had superhuman strength because he never cut his fucking hair? I mean, all these impossible stories, all of these impossible stories make no fucking sense if you actually think about it. And if you actually think about it, you'll lose faith and you'll realize that nothing changed except you became smarter. You became wiser to the truth. And your own God said, the truth shall set you free. And that is how I lost faith in the Christian God. How I lost faith in all gods. How I've come to believe that it's all fiction. Can't help it. If you like my videos, hit that thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. Share me on your social media. Comment in the comment section below. I'm digging it, yo. I'm digging it. I'll see you soon.